Hi everyone, George from Everest Bands here. One of the most popular watches out there right now has got to be the Rolex GMT Master 2 with its two-tone bezel. It's a gorgeous watch, but do you really know how to use the GMT function? In this video, I'm going to show you the abilities of your GMT watch, how to get the most out of it, and some basics about time while traveling. So grab your watch and let's get started. Before we even get to the watch itself, you need to understand the concept of 24-hour time, otherwise known as military time and time zones. We're all aware that each day is comprised of 24 hours and that we all live in one of those 24 time zones. 24 hours in a day equals 24 time zones around the world. Currently, where I am in St. Louis, Missouri, in the US, it's 10:10 a.m. here in the Central Time Zone. That's easy to set on your watch, but in order to use the GMT function, we need to know the 24-hour time. You can see on the bezel of the GMT Master 2, there are a total of 24 markers. These refer to 24-hour time. You may have heard in a war movie, for example, someone referring to a time as 0600 hours or 1800 hours. This is 24-hour time. 0600 hours is 6 a.m. and 1800 hours is 6 p.m. Think of a standard clock as being 24 hours instead of 12, with p.m. hours adding on after 12 p.m. If 12 p.m. is 1200 hours, then 1 p.m. would be 1300 hours, 2 p.m. would be 1400 hours, and so on. Then at midnight you have 2400 hours, or 0 hours, same thing. We have time zones set up across the globe to line up with the rotation of the Earth. Our time here in the Central Time Zone of the US is based on the standard of Greenwich Mean Time in Greenwich, England. This is why our watch is called a GMT, the acronym for Greenwich Mean Time. You may have also seen another standard of time measurement as being UTC, or Universal Time Coordinated, or Coordinated Universal Time. UTC and GMT are functionally the same thing, but for our purpose here, we're going to use GMT. Think of the time zone in Greenwich, England, as basically being set at 0. Our central US time zone is 5 hours behind GMT. So, if our time here is 10:10 a.m., that means it's 3:10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. This simple calculation is how we're going to set our GMT watch. For a quick reference on time zones, simply do an online search for your time zone. We like using everytimezone.com since it clearly shows our current time zone as well as accurate time zones around the world, now, in the past, or in the future. Really helpful in planning travel. Okay, now that we have a grasp on 24-hour time and time zones, let's set up our GMT watch for travel. I'm going to be traveling to New York City for the National Red Bar meetup soon, so I'll use that time zone to set my watch. All watches have the standard minute and hour hands for setting the current time, but a GMT watch has a 24-hour hand, or a GMT hand. This is how we're going to set our home time. Many GMT watches also have a rotating 24-hour bezel like our GMT Master 2. This is what we'll use to set the third time zone on our watch. The first step is, if you haven't already, set your bezel to the standard position with the 24-hour triangle at noon. Triangle to triangle. Next, we need to set the home time using the GMT hand. Home time is where you would be starting your journey. For us, that's St. Louis. Pull the crown out to the third position and turn until the GMT hand matches your home 24-hour time on the bezel, or on the dial on some other watches. If currently home time is 10:10 a.m., we turn the GMT hand until it reaches just past 10 on the bezel. 1000, 10 hours, and 24-hour time. the minute hand will move to and will line up with 10 minutes on the dial. So we've set our home 24-hour time with the GMT Hand and hop on a plane to New York City. After landing, I want to set my watch for the current East Coast time, which is 1 hour ahead of St. Louis. Simply pull your crown out to the second position and set the time 1 hour ahead using the hour hand. In our case, that would be 11:10 a.m. Now we know the current time where we are as well as the time back home in St. Louis. Let's say I make a really good business contact at Red Bar in New York. So now I have to quickly fly to London to continue making this deal. I need to know the time in London so I can book the right flight. This is our third time zone, which we'll set using the rotating bezel. I figured out that London is 5 hours ahead of New York, which makes it 6 hours ahead of St. Louis. The GMT hand on my watch is still set to my home time in St. Louis. So all I have to do to calculate London time is rotate my 24-hour bezel 6 clicks, or 6 hours. The trick with the bezel is that you rotate the opposite direction that you might think. To set a time ahead of you, rotate counterclockwise. To set the time behind you, rotate clockwise. For London being 6 hours ahead of our home time, we rotate the bezel 6 clicks counterclockwise. Now I can see, using our preset GMT hand, that the time in London is just past 1600 hours, or 4:10 p.m. And thanks to the GMT Master 2's dual bezel colors, I can tell that the time I set it to is during daytime hours. Having set my GMT bezel to the time in London, I can now book the right flight to arrive on time for my meeting. So there you have it. We just set 3 separate time zones on our GMT watch, the Rolex GMT Master 2. To quickly recap, we did the following. 1. Learned the basics of 24-hour time and time zones. 2. Readied our watch for setting. 3. Set our home time using the GMT hand. 4. Set our current time using the hour hand. 5. Set the third time using the rotating bezel. You're now ready to travel the world and always be on time in 3 separate time zones. If you enjoyed this video, help us by liking, commenting, subscribing, and watching our other videos. For the replacement straps you see in this video, as well as our other straps and accessories, visit everestbands.com. From Everest, this is George signing off. Thank you for watching.